Welcome to LA TV and Neighborhood Snapshot. My name is Bob Sardelli. I am a member of the Leominster Historical Commission. Our program today is the third installment of what has developed into a trilogy of programs because our featured guest, Joseph A. Goodhue Jr., has lived such an interesting life. A note to the LA TV audience: every one of you out there in the audience has had a life filled with many interesting things. But Joe has done so many things and has been a lifelong resident of Leominster and has lived a life of many accomplishments filled with family, friendship, hard work, loyalty, inventiveness, and fun. And just prior to our going on starting the interview and speaking to Joe, Joe made the point that it's family that is so important in a person's life. And in a moment, I am going to explain to the LA TV audience why Joe Goodhue, a great guy, and he's been on the program before with some other Leominster businessmen, and he had a very conservative suit on. And then in the prior two installments, Joe was dressed conservatively, and in a few moments he's going to explain his flamboyant coat. But Joe, what was your comment about family? That's so important.
Family is so important, and frankly, my family is a good example of it. My older brother got a scholarship to MIT, Edison Scholarship. One from each state. I'm in the middle, and I got a few brains, but my brother didn't get as many as I did, my younger brother. And he, through my mother, which is so important, figured she had to teach him something. So she taught him how to paint. He became an artist, and a very successful one, and had his own business. Charlie was an outstanding guy, and unfortunately he passed away this last year.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll show some photos of that after. Joe, now during this interview, you, as I commented in a previous interview, you really make me work during these interviews. You have kept so many things, and it's wonderful that you did. And so we'll do some. We'll show some of these objects.
Let me explain.
Explain the coat of many colors, please.
Why I have the coat on.
Yes.
Well, the coat's about 50 years old, and this is the second time I had a chance to even wear it. But my name is Joseph, and in the Bible, in the Genesis, around 30 or so, Israel liked Joseph so much, they gave him a coat of many colors. But everybody calls me Joe, so I'm not Joseph anymore except today.
All right. So that Bible reference, the coat Joseph and the amazing coat of many colors, has been a musical that is based on that
yes.
scriptural story.
Yes.
And we're going to make some parallels. Joseph in the Bible, the coat of many colors, he didn't bury his talents. And you didn't bury your God-given talents. And Johnny Appleseed, one of your heroes, and we're going to make some parallels to that after, didn't bury his God-given talents and shared those with the greater community.
That's
so we're
true.
going to make those parallels in a bit. Joe, a couple of things. I was under the impression that the Horn and Supply Company, which the building no longer exists. It used to be the Horn and Supply Company. They used animal horn. It was on the corner of Graham and Central Streets, and then it became your dad and you bought it, and it became the Goodhue Enterprises, where you sold boats, sunfish, sailfish, Hobie cats, docks, and now it's no longer there for residents new to Leominster. It's a CVS.
That's true.
Okay, but I was under the impression that that's where Goodhue, the factory where you worked with your dad making the machete handles, was, but that I was incorrect. Okay?
You were.
This is, I'll hold it up, the Goodhue and Company factory on 290 Union Street. And this one that I'm holding up, this is the Goodhue and Company factory. And what was made in this factory, Joe?
Machete handles.
This is where the machete handles were made.
And horn, flat stock horn that he sold.
Animal horn.
The flat stock to Horn Supply.
Horn and Supply.
That's where it tied in. Yes.
Okay, and then the next picture, which we want to put up, is the Goodhue Company on, here it is on the monitor, and that building was on Coburn Street, and then I guess it became Brito Sheet Metal, and now it's been demolished, and there are condos or apartments there on Coburn Street.
Yeah.
Okay, so we wanted to correct that, and a couple of other things that we didn't get to talk to in the last interview. Joe, you figuratively and literally made a lot of dough in your life. All right, I am sitting with a pioneer, really, and this is very serious to the audience. Joe, very inventive gentleman, and was a pioneer in the frozen food business. And frozen dough, which we take for granted now, was really pretty much, I think, invented by Joe. And he has done so many things in his lifetime. And like all of us, you know, we've had life has its highs and its lows. You told me the other day when we were talking, life goes around in cycles. And
yes, it does.
But what we don't do is we don't give up, and you didn't give up, and you kept on. Your perseverance and a real recipe for success.
Go for something else.
Go for something else. If at first you don't succeed,
no matter what it is, antiques, you name it. The cycle is a point where it peaks out. Stick pin's a good example of it. You can't even give them away now. Fountain pens is another one. About 3 years ago, they peaked out. Now you can't give them away. That's true.
Yes. You're so many things you've done, but in your career as a restaurateur and an entrepreneur, an inventor, one of the things with the frozen food business, you eventually sold. You worked you worked at one point as a for Mrs. Paul's, which is a name that people should recognize.
Mrs. Paul's Kitchen.
Mrs. Paul's Kitchen.
Which is still on the market today.
It's still on, and you worked 2 days a week in 1963 through 66 for Mrs. Paul's Kitchen as Director of Research and New Developments. You were always innovative in the things you did. You were telling me that with the dough business, now we take for granted the pocket sandwiches. The pocket sandwiches. You had even come up with that idea, but there was no really market for it.
Yes, I had a Japanese machine. I think I paid almost $100,000 for the machine, and I tried to put them on the market, but you've got to have a lot of money behind it for marketing, and that's the big problem. Today, pockets is a big item.
Yes.
But one of the problems I had with the machine, it still worked pretty good, but you use sort of semi-liquids where they squeeze out of the pocket. So you throw an awful lot of them away.
So there'd be some waste. Another name people will recognize, Mrs. Paul's, Campbell's soup. You had we had spoken about that previously. The King Arthur flour, which is a very fine flour. You eventually sold your business, that business, out to one of your businesses out to the King Arthur flour, and here it is, Flour Packer. Flour Packer, and we're referring to. From a newspaper article, Goodhue joins King Arthur Goodhue's Incorporated, a firm which started in Leominster and now is one of the region's largest suppliers of frozen bread dough, has been purchased by Sands, Taylor and Wood Company, packers of King Arthur's flour. And the headline is, Flour Packer Purchases Goodhue's Bread Dough. So, Joe, an amazing, amazing career. I just want to show, I'm going to put this down.
Well, in the meantime, I'd like to just show you this here. You know, no matter what business you're in, there's a lot of fun related to it. And frozen foods is an example of it. This is the National Frozen Food Show that shows
Joe,
and we have a lot of fun as well as hard work to get where you get.
I want to show this. Now, here's Joe. Now, I want to show this.
Oh, you showed that once.
I know, but I just want to show. This is the kid. Way back in, Joe was born in 1914. And Joe, you're going to be how old?
I'll be 93 in my next birthday.
God bless you, 93, your next birthday. So Joe was an entrepreneur right from the beginning. Here he is with the bicycle that he won as a prize, and he's got his wagon, and he's pedaling around town selling Ladies' Home Journal. Here's Joe.
Saturday Evening Post.
Saturday Evening Post, excuse me.
Also.
And, oh, Ladies' Home Journal and the Saturday Evening Post.
There are three of them.
Three of them.
Yeah, there's the Ladies' Home Journal, the Country Gentleman, and the Saturday Evening Post. And I like the Saturday Evening Post because Norman Rockwell's on the cover of most of them.
And you were a fan of Norman Rockwell, I know.
I loved him.
This is Joe, his high school graduation picture. Joseph A. Goodhue, Jr., class of 1933. Good-looking guy. Still are, Joe. There he is. All right. And here is Joe and his wife Kathleen. Okay, and I am going to, let me put these over here. I'm going to refer to this now. This is a menu from Goodhue's restaurant. And the reason I'm referring to it is not only because of the restaurant, but because of this symbol of Johnny Appleseed. Right here in the corner. And
just bring it forward a little bit on the mic.
Okay. This is the Goodhue's restaurant, and Joe had mentioned that, and we'll refer to Johnny Appleseed, that reference in a bit, but Joe, you operated for years with your mom and a very, very well-known restaurant in Leominster, Goodhue's restaurant. And you had mentioned to me that at that time, when Goodhue's was going, there were two other, Monty's Garden, which is shortly to be no longer there. It's going to be taken over by Walgreens. It may, we hope it will relocate someplace else.
And the Boston
Monty's Garden, and Boston, BC, the Boston Confectioners, that restaurant. And there may be an upcoming interview with some of the people from the BC. And there were some other restaurants probably in the outer areas of Leominster. There were lots of diners, but downtown, I guess it was Goodhue's, Monty's Garden, and the BC.
That's it.
And many of you in the audience of a certain era have fond memories of the BC and Monty's Garden still presently, and Goodhue's restaurant. So I'm going to go back to that after. I'm going to put that over here. Joe wanted me to emphasize in this interview the family aspect of his life, how important family is, and a lot of his other interesting activities. But so I'm going to, I want to refer to this Apple Blossom Festival. Joe was an outdoorsman, was an outdoorsman, a fisherman, a hunter, an ice boater, many things. And he was an athlete, and to him, athletics and physical fitness are very important. And I think he got that, I'm sure, from his dad, who was went to Springfield College and was instrumental in setting up basketball in Lebanon. But these are pictures, and I'll get them away from I know I have to get them away from the mic. I'm going to show a series of pictures of Joe's 1933 undefeated Leominster High School football team. And this was during the Depression, and Joe comes from an era where many of you folks in the audience, the greatest generation, you weathered the Depression era, you persevered, and you came through that. And this team were state champions, and then they hoped to go to Florida, but because it was in the Depression, they couldn't gather enough money from donations to make
Sure couldn't.
to Florida. So here's Joe, and Jack, I'm just going to show I'll just go through these pictures. There's Joe. The second picture I'm going to show. Now, who is this?
That's Rick Caglioli.
Well, take a look. Now, it's...
Oh, that's Mitch Lemoyne.
Mitch Lemoyne. Okay, now, and we'll show Rick Caglioli in a minute. This is Mitch Lemoyne. But as I was looking at these pictures last night, you'll see the historical connection in a minute. I took the picture out, and there's a stamp right here, and this is the era of the Depression, and it says NRA code. It's a government code, and there's an eagle on it. And Joe, I think the NRA was the National Recovery Act.
Yes.
Was that what it was?
That's what it was.
Because it was the era of the Depression, the federal government had taken over, and pretty much everything was controlled. And it's interesting, the stamp says Picture Molding and Picture Frame Code Authority. So even things like that we take for granted. So that's Mitch Lemoyne. Here's Rick Caglioli.
There we are.
Rick Caglioli. Now, if you don't remember some of these names, it's okay. Who is this gentleman?
That's Dick O'Toole.
Dick O'Toole.
Just passed away last year. That's the famous Bill Lane.
Bill Lane, who became the owner of Standard Peroxide?
Yes.
Yes, and you said that he was pretty hard to block.
Well, he was a god like I was, and he weighed about 225 pounds, and I only weighed about 175 pounds.
So there's William Lane, Bill Lane, and this
By the way, his sister invited me down to Midland, Texas, to her place down there, and she married a surgeon from Fort Devens during the war.
Interesting, all these connections. This is someone we should recognize. This is...
That's Stiff Pacuzzi.
Angelo Stiff Pacuzzi, who became our state representative.
That's right.
1933, the class of 1933. This is, I know this is Howard Wiley.
Howard Wiley,
I
yes.
taught with, I knew Howard, and I taught for a number of years with his, with Eiley, his wife. I taught with her in Lunenburg, Mrs. Wiley. And Nilo
Tossi.
Nilo Tossi.
He was president of our class.
Yes,
Yeah.
president of the class.
Right.
Peter's dad.
Yes, he is.
And
That's Ed Seaver.
Ed Seaver.
Seaver.
Ed Seaver.
S-E-A-V-E-R, yes.
And
That's Brendan Toolin.
Brendan Toolin.
That's Dick O'Toole's brother.
Dick O'Toole's brother.
His name is Wilson.
Wilson.
Wilson. His father's president of the bank.
Ah.
Way back then. I don't know who that is.
Okay.
Can't see that well. That's La Chapelle.
Mr. La Chapelle.
La Chapelle, yeah.
It says Bill.
I don't know.
Another of your teammates. Long time ago, Joe.
Incidentally, they're all not in that same class. Some of them were the class before.
Underclassmen or upperclassmen.
Yeah, that's Norman Clark.
Norman Clark.
Yes, he was a guard as well as I was.
And the last football picture. This is Sully.
Sully. Oh, yeah, Sully. John Sully. John Sullivan.
S-U-L-L-Y, Sullivan.
Sullivan.
Sully, yeah.
Yes.
And as an important part of the team, and these some of the more he is one of the Leominster cheerleaders from that era.
That's Bernard Lagoy.
Bernard Lagoy. And here's another of the cheerleaders from that era.
And that's Dorothy Pierce.
Dorothy Pierce. And they have the megaphones, and they have the big the letter, the L.
Right.
And so these are amazing photographs. So Joe.
Well, let me show you this first, because this is the whole football.
And here's the whole football team. And I see the coach. I see Coach Broderick. And before I hold it up, I see Coach Broderick. And is Coach Kaczowski there at the time? Or?
Coach, Broderick.
Coach Broderick.
Was the coach.
Charles Broderick.
Kaczowski was assistant coach.
Okay, so is this the 33 team?
Yes.
Okay. So, amazing photographs, Joe. Athletics was a very, very important part of your life. I have here, when you went to the University of Pennsylvania, I have this. You did many things there. You were on, both academically, you were on the publications, and you were the photographer.
I was on the rowing team.
And you were on the rowing team. And you told me that, boy, that was very, very, very...
it was very strenuous.
Strenuous work.
When you get to the last 30 seconds, they speed it up. And when they speed it up, it's a real problem to catch your breath, and you just about collapse after that.
So you were involved in so many, all of your life, the physical activities.
That's a coordination with 8 people, and you get one oar that catches somewhere, and you're in deep trouble with not one, with 8.
You really have to, teamwork.
Teamwork is right.
So in your activities, you were involved in both individual sports and activities, and also teamwork. So the best of both.
Very important.
So well-rounded.
Right. The same way in business. The same way.
Same way in business.
That's right.
I want to show, getting into, and I know we're skipping around here, but there was, Joe, I'm telling you, made me work.
Well,
one of your endeavors.
We have so many different things to talk about.
Yes. One of them on the Cape, you were involved in, you told me the story of you went down to the Cape and you saw this elderly gentleman sitting by the road at his house, and he was near the beach or something, and you went over to him and you asked him, would he be willing to what?
Yeah, he was probably 85 years old and sitting in a rocking chair, and probably had his breakfast with a bottle. And I hit him about the right time, and I asked him if he would lease the property to me, part of the property. He said, sure. And I said, well, how much do you want? Well, he says, how's $500 feel?
That was a pretty good amount in those days.
Yes, it was. I said, that sounds good. Why don't we go down to the bank and get a notary and make out a form?
Put it in writing.
In writing, so that at least I can be sure of the property? Sure, why not? Let's go.
And so you leased that property for 10 years.
10 years.
And the beach property, what did you do with it? You just didn't go and put a blanket out and enjoy the water. What did you do with that property?
I bought 2 prefab garages, and for storage of some of my boats. A lot of them I couldn't put in there. And I had more or less an office in there. And we started selling sunfish, sailfish. Sailfish were on the way out. It's just a flat deck. But the sunfish has a small well so that you can sail nicely. And I think I was probably instrumental in any number of people learning how to sail.
So you had a number of places on the Cape that expanded
Yes.
to a number of places. You had a number of sites on the Cape where you had what?
I had 15 locations on Cape Cod.
Where you had people
On the beaches.
On the
And
beaches.
would you believe trying to get to a beach today?
They're
with a boat?
restricted. But in those days you could, and you had people teaching people how to sail.
Yes.
And through that you were selling
They
the
were college students
college
that
students.
operated the different locations.
So that was a business that panned out on the Cape.
That's right.
But you had another one that flopped because you got into trampolines.
Yes.
And they were dug into the ground and they were level with the ground.
3 feet deep into the ground and padding on the trampolines.
And
And it was put up by Nissen, and Nissen was and still is today, I believe, in business. But trampolines are dangerous unless they're properly...
it's a dangerous
don't-
piece of apparatus. And what happened that got you out of that business?
If you don't bounce right in the center, you're in deep trouble.
And if you don't have spotters and things?
Yes, that's the way you have to bounce. I operated, excuse me, up in Laconia for 1 year. Unfortunately, somebody came on and used a trampoline. There was a bleeder.
Had the bleeding disease.
Bled to death about a week later. So the insurance company canceled the insurance on me.
So,
But I had the traffic stopped all the way from center of Laconia to the Weirs, which is about 3 to 5 miles.
and
And everybody watching, the people going up and down, I couldn't figure out what it was.
what was going
all
on?
about.
All these people bouncing up and down. And
Right.
when we were setting up for this interview, it may be that Carl bounced on one of your trampolines when he was a
Could
kid.
possibly. I know a woman by the name of Grace Bahelia bounced on it, and she wrote a book on the area up there.
Joe, I'm jumping around a little bit. One of your many endeavors, you were a part of the business community in Leominster, and we have now the very active Shoalin part of Leominster, the Shoalin Apple Orchard, which is, thank God, it's an orchard and it's preserved and
Which is wonderful.
It really is.
Yes.
And they produce apples. Well, this is from May 8th through 16th, 1948. This is the 9th annual Neshoba, for the whole Neshoba region, Apple Blossom Festival. And this is the catalog for it. And there used to be, every year in the spring, an Apple Blossom Festival. Now, the Shoalin Farms, they have the apple orchard, the apple blossom time,
Right.
and they also have fall activities and during, seasonal activities. But what is fascinating about this is here we are in 2006, and there's one working apple orchard in Leominster, Shoalin Farms. I want to read just the list. This says, and this was put out for the whole region, but this page says, "Welcome to Leominster. Compliments of the Leominster apple growers, descendants of Johnny Appleseed." And I'm going to read this. I'll just, Kyle, we don't, Jack, I'm just going to read these names. These are the apple growers in 1948 in Leominster. I'm just going to quickly read through a list of names, and some of the folks in the audience will recognize. These are people who grew apples. Andrew F. Anderson, Leon Beauchesne, Chester B. Blodgett, I recognize that name, Lloyd Colcord, Herbert Crawley, Crescent Farms, Derby Farms, Fitzgerald Fruit Farm, Clifford L. Gove, we still have the Gove Farm, Lester H. Gove, Harris Fruit Farm, Sidney L. Harris, Harvey Brothers, Harvie, Joslyn Hill Farms Incorporated, Justice Hill Farm, W.A. Lawrence Farm, Eno J. Ovaska, Fred A. Rogers, Shoalin Farms, Stockwell Farm, Archie H. Tuttle, Wass Farm, Willard Fruit Farm, and C.R. Williams. The point being that in 1948 there were many apple growers in Leominster.
That's right.
And the region, and today not too many.
Very
not
few.
Too many.
Very few.
Many of the apples now come
Right.
from even Japan. overseas.
Now you have a picture of the girls there?
Yes, every year used to be a great festival, and they used to have, I guess, the Apple Blossom Queen, and these are some of the ladies.
Let me tell you about it. Each town picked somebody as their queen, and they all came to Leominster, and we finally picked out the winner. And we had a dance set up for the queen and all the attendants. And we made a good week out of it, and it was wonderful.
As a kid, I remember one of my early memories is at the time, I love apple blossoms, and I remember, I think the superintendent of schools was William B. Appleton, so I made some connection there. I was a little kid and, in springtime and everything. So
I love that.
Joe, let's go to...
You want to go to sports?
Well, just before, yeah, all right, let's go to sports. I'm going to show, I'm going to show this, Joe. Now, this is one sport I'm going to show. This is a trophy.
That's what it is.
It's the something annual outing, Blue Hill Country Club 1978 Suppliers Award. Wait till next year award. Joe was successful at many sports, but this shows a golfer bending his golf club. What's this, Joe?
My golf was not too good.
Your golf...
and I think I had, for 18 holes, I think I had about 150. Could be 170, I'm not sure.
So I
lost count.
So you got the Wait Till Next Year award. So that was one...
I gave up golf.
You gave up golf. But you didn't give up on many of your other sports. Skiing, hunting, fishing, ice boating. Let's go to the ice boating. That's to me is not too many people do ice boating. Here's a picture from Life magazine, the cover of Life magazine in 1962, and it shows ice boaters zooming along a frozen lake, and that is not Joe on the cover of Life magazine. But
it's a wonderful sport. You go over 100 miles an hour, and you have to be sure the ice is right. We check the ice out before we even go out and put the areas.
Let me see. That's Joe on his ice boat. Is that you, Joe?
Yeah.
And you're zooming along, and I have on the, and Joe, you told me that one of the times you really get going, you can go over 100 miles an hour on these things, right?
Yes, you can.
And you don't like to have a lot of people on the ice because it can be dangerous, you know,
Yes.
collisions.
And not many skiers either.
And not too many, no. And
we can go faster than they can go.
And you said that one time you lost your ice boat, you had to bail out. And you went, tell us briefly about that. You bailed out. This is a tool that all ice boaters use.
This, you know, all your little kids, when they go out in the wintertime, they have a mitten. Well, we have something a little bit different.
They hang a mitten around it, yeah.
It goes right through here and out the other side, and this is the pick, so they pull you out of the ice. That's the only thing that'll save you. Unless somebody's handy to save you.
To save you. And the time you bailed out of your ice boat, you got out and it kept going, and you went after it the next day? You said, and you found it on an island or something?
Found it on an island, no damage at all. It just blew right into the island, and that was it.
Now I know you didn't do your ice boating at Barrett Park. All right, Lake what? You need a huge...
No, the only place really to do it is Speck Pond.
Lake...
Not Speck Pond, but Lake Winnipesaukee.
Lake Winnipesaukee, the huge lake.
Lake Winnipesaukee and Lake Menominee. And there's a fellow from Fitchburg, Kit Tucker, ice boats today, on a DN. And DN's the most popular ice boat there is. It's a wonderful ice boat. DN means Detroit News. They printed details of how to build it, and that's why they call it DN. Incidentally, Don Kent's son is world champion.
Don Kent used to be, wasn't it, the weatherman that many in the audience of a certain era will recognize.
Right.
Now, I have This is a playbill from the Alvin Theater in New York, and on the cover is George M. Cohan as President Roosevelt.
Right.
And there's a connection between this and how your lovely wife, Kathleen, hooked you.
Well, it happened this way. It seems that my wife lived in New York City, and I was going to school in Philadelphia. So the only way she could get me up to New York every weekend was to buy tickets. But she didn't tell me she was buying them. She told me she had a friend who got free tickets to the show. So I went along with it very well, and she eventually hooked me enough so that I married her.
You married her, and
So that's a little suggestion for all you young girls.
and that led to a wonderful family. And I'm going to hold this picture up. These are your two daughters.
Yeah,
Linda,
Penny,
and
my granddaughter.
And that's your granddaughter.
Yes.
What's her name?
Laura.
Laura. So Linda, Penny, and your granddaughter Laura, and you have grandchildren, and you
Yes.
have great-grandchildren.
Yes, I do now. And
Yeah.
for the first boy in 3 generations.
So again, that idea that family ties are so important to you, Joe.
Yes.
We don't want to forget the nieces and nephews. And here's a nephew. You had mentioned.
Well, I didn't have any boys in the family.
So
this gentleman here,
this is your brother,
Chip Goodhue.
Chip Goodhue.
He loves to fish, he loves to hunt, and he's an outdoor man.
Just like
probably
you.
because of his father.
And this is your
That's my older brother, Bill.
Bill, who
And that's a deer that they just shot by bow and arrow.
bow and arrow. You had mentioned, you had told us how they did that during the last
Right,
interview
right.
on the cart and everything, and it's an
Yeah.
area where. Now, Joe, you love to hunt and fish, and I want to show some of these pictures. But at the same time, you're a conservationist, and tell us about this, Ducks Unlimited.
You know, every organization has a purpose. And Ducks Unlimited, their purpose is to be sure there are plenty of ducks flying north and south. And they own well over 1 million acres where ducks raise their babies up in Canada. And they have to raise money for it. And I was instrumental, together with a lot of other hunters, to raise ducks. So I don't feel bad about shooting one once in a while because it's part of the cycle.
The cycle, all that you had mentioned before, the cycles are a
Right.
big part of life,
Right.
which they really are.
But Ducks Unlimited is a very nice organization.
Yes.
Now they have an organization for trout unlimited, they have an organization for salmon unlimited, a number of different, and hunting in the same way, another version.
So hunters and fishermen are very much concerned
Right.
about preserving the environment.
Right.
I'm going to put this over here on the side. You have traveled, your love of hunting and fishing has led you to travel to many places. Here's a picture of, there are so many in this album. Here's Joe. Here you are with one of many salmon that you caught.
Right. We average about 15 salmon a day up in Alaska.
This is fishing in Alaska.
Individually.
Individually, a fisherman could get 15
It takes
salmon.
about 20 minutes to land the salmon because you have to get them tired out before you get tired out.
And you said that when you fished, you'd wear wetsuits
Oh, yes.
so that you could really stay in the water.
Well, the water's a little cold up there.
And then over the wetsuit, you'd
I
have
wear
other
a
clothes.
wetsuit, and I wear a pair of gloves on my hand without any fingers in on the end, so you can still operate it.
Okay. And here's another picture of fishing. Is this in Alaska too?
That's in Alaska.
That's in Alaska.
Right.
And
You meet wonderful people that way. You got to go do things. You can't sit back. You have to keep after it all the time.
is that where you met? Is that where the connection is to this? Now, what's this?
Well, I'll tell you what that is. That's a moose.
Yeah, little
That
stuffed
came
animal
from,
moose.
Came from Alaska, and we were fishing on the Salmon River. And there were so many people fishing there. Every 5 feet there was somebody fishing. So we decided to go up the river a ways. We went up the river a ways, and we were fishing, and all of a sudden this gal comes up and starts talking to us. And we asked her if she wanted any lunch. No, she didn't want any lunch. We were about to leave to go back, and she said, "I'll give you a ride back, Joe, because I know you can't walk too well." I said, "Fine." She said, "By the way, it's my birthday today, and I'd like to have you all come to dinner." Well, that was nice of her. And she said, "By the way, your nephew there has a couple of hooks on his line. He's not supposed to have 2 hooks on a line." So we got acquainted, and every year she
Was she
sends
a
me
game
some
warden?
kind of a gift, and she sent me a nightgown with moose on the outside of it, and this year she sent me a moose,
So that
a
connection.
female moose.
Was she a game warden or something?
Yeah, she's the game warden
was a
up
game
there.
warden.
Yes.
All right. So you made a friend up there too.
Wonderful.
Joe, where else have you gone now? I see an iceberg in this picture. Where are some of the other places your
That's
fishing is taken?
that particular picture's up in Baffin Islands. Our association is such that each year you buy trips, and they're donated by the people that own the lodge or whatever it may be, and we buy them at a price. And sometimes you get a good deal, and I got a good deal to go to Baffin Islands, figuring there'd be quite a few there, but it ended up so there's 2 of us. But fortunately, there was the doctor was the other one, so I didn't have to worry at all. But that's the Baffin Islands of the iceberg, and you have another picture underneath there, I think, that there's
Did you?
the top one there is shows they call them an Inuit.
Yes, the Inuits, the native people.
And there's a little boy fishing.
Yeah.
And the bottom one is, we snuck up on, you can only fish about 3 or 4 hours a day, so we had something to do, so we climbed the mountain and went over the cliff and saw these baby falcons in the nest.
3 of them.
And my friends stayed up there waving a flag so the mother didn't come by.
Attack and swoop down.
Right.
Joe, fishing in Iceland too?
Yes, I fished in Iceland. That's
Is this? Well, they're from different places.
let me hold on.
Just one picture of Iceland.
Okay. We got a lot of pictures here.
Oh, there's so many.
So many. This is Iceland up here,
Okay.
and this is the plane. That's the wetsuit I wore, and this one here
Yeah.
is Alaska,
Who's that?
and you can see the bears. And they had a little platform up there where you stood, and the bears don't bother you as long as they get salmon to get,
And there's one of the
and
salmon.
that's the main thing.
So all
That's
these
their dinner.
adventures. That's a beautiful, boy, the territory there.
Right.
Joe, let me put these over here. you made a point of bringing this oversized picture of a United States dollar, and you said everything goes in cycles. And
except money.
What's the significance of this?
You know, if you bought an insurance policy back in 1930, it'd be worth about that much today unless they went into other stocks and so forth. Those are today's pennies.
And they're really tiny. These little teeny tiny pennies. So the
value of money has really gone down.
Even though, you know, wages are higher today, but the value of
that's true.
And if we look, and I'll just give you an example of that, and that'll bring us to Johnny Appleseed nearing the end of the interview. The Goodhue. Here's the Goodhue menu, and just as an example, sliced steak platter. I'm going to read one thing from the menu. Juicy slices of tender meat on pieces of toast covered with melted butter and served with coleslaw and French fried potatoes, $1.75. Milkshake,
Pretty hard to
20
beat.
cents. So how things have changed.
Yes.
I see this Johnny Appleseed logo on here, and it's the folklore Johnny Appleseed. I need my notes. Oh, by the way, speaking of fishing, let's just show this while we're here. Here are the flies, some of the flies Joe used. And are these all hand-tied?
We don't fish by worms, we fish by flies. And they have to check what kind of a fly is the trout are eating to be sure that they may grab the line.
So you were a real fisherman, a real practiced fisherman.
Well, it's a sport. It's a sport that you enjoy, and it's a challenge.
And here are some other. These flies are really.
Those flies are used mostly in Alaska.
Salmon.
Salmon, right? For salmon.
The Goodhue menu with the Johnny Appleseed logo, and I have to take this out.
Yes, that's Melody Time. Back in 1947, right after the war, Disney put out Melody Time with Johnny Appleseed as one of the film. And Johnny Appleseed, we really promoted it because of that. If you wish to get a copy of that, all you have to do is call Disney in Hollywood, California, and tell them what you want. And I think it's around $20, so you can get the complete set. And it's really wonderful.
I watched the whole DVD yesterday, and it really is beautiful. They have a number of stories, folklore stories, and others set to music. But the Johnny Appleseed one, the connection I made, the parallels, and I want to refer to my notes. And I remember seeing that, the legend of the folk hero Johnny Appleseed when I was a kid and later, and it was the Disney version. Johnny Appleseed John Chapman was actually born in Leominster.
Yes.
It's been documented. And he is someone who did not bury his talents. He went and he, as a pioneer, really, he was a very sharp businessman. And you know, the cartoon version, he has a pot in his head and so on, but he was a sharp businessman, a very good man, apparently, as you are. And he was a nurseryman, and he planted apple seeds. And I see the parallel between you and Johnny Appleseed. You were born in Leominster, you've lived in Leominster all your life, but you too have shared your talents with the greater world. A couple of the things, he planted apples, which were so important as a staple product for the pioneers. the cider, and the many other things that were made from apples. It was very important for their survival, apples. And you were a pioneer by, in the frozen food business, spreading another staple, dough. Dough. So there's a parallel there. In the version, and Dennis Day sings the tune, and Dennis Day, with that name, that singer will be recognized by a number of people in the audience. There's a line in the song that goes something like this, in the legend of Johnny Appleseed. The Lord's been good to me. I thank the Lord for giving me the things I need, the sun, the rain, and the apple seed. And Joe, the Lord's been good to you.
Sure
Okay, you've been blessed. As I said, the parallels to Johnny Appleseed, John Chapman, born in Leominster, Joseph Goodhue, born in Leominster, both blessed with God-given talents. Both of them used those talents. Both were pioneers. Both were pioneers. So, just as everybody in the audience has their own interesting story to tell, Joe, you've done so many things that your story has taken 3 episodes. Now, nearing the very end of this interview, I want to just say a couple of other things. We want to make sure.
I want to talk about Reid. Yeah.
The William Reid Company. All right. Now, Joe, just give a little synopsis of who was William F. Reid and what did he...
William Reid had the largest toy factory in the world.
The largest toy factory in the world in Leominster.
Right here in Leominster. And he had, I think he had 55 patents on different kinds of toys. And he competed with Germany and Japan and so forth on some of the toys. And they had a problem tariff-wise.
Tariffs. Yeah, from other countries.
Right.
This is
okay.
This is the original, the world's educator and game. This is from the Wit, Wisdom, and Wonder, 10-in-1. It's manufactured by W.S. Reid and Company, Leominster, Mass., made in USA, and it's from that era, and it's a great game. And it's one of the many, many games that and toys that were made. In fact, if you had one of the original Whitney Reid toys, some of them are worth, like, I think there's one that's worth $250,000, some of the iron toys for collectors.
Yes.
But this is a fascinating game. You spin these dials and they line up, and it's
similar to today with your TV. They're asking the same questions.
Yeah, it's...
Probably some of the same questions are in there.
But at the time, what I found, one of the things I found interesting, the 7 wonders of the, new wonders of the world, when this game was published: wireless. That was new. Telephone, aeroplane, A-E-R-O-plane, radium, antiseptics and antitoxins, spectrum analysis, and X-ray. These were new things when this game was published. So many, you could do a whole show on the Whitney Reid Company. Joe, there was a disaster.
It sure was.
It was a huge, huge company, and what happened? This is one of the buildings of the...
One of the buildings that burned down.
Burned down.
And that building actually is still standing today. The brick is, the inside was gutted, but still standing today.
Did some of the other buildings of the factory?
Not many left.
And this is Whitney Reid Fire.
Whitney Reid was...
this is a different company.
After William S. Reid.
After William S. Reid.
That's when Herb Green came into the picture.
Okay, Herb Green and rocking horses. Now, very quickly, Joe, what's this picture? There's Norman Rockwell.
It looks almost like William S. Reid, because he had a mustache, white hair, but it's not. It was done by Norman Rockwell. But the rocking horses was one of the big items that William Reid produced to start with, and Herb Green took over after William Reid retired.
Okay. And Joe, what is this, just as we conclude?
That's one of William Reid's special designs, only one of a kind. And how he did it, I'll never know, but it's a music box.
Music box?
and it plays a tune, plays more than one. It's coin operated, and if you see in the bottom right down here, all those little pins are designed with, and I can't show the back because we don't have a picture of it, but those pins hit the glass through a string going up to the glass,
And they make the tone.
and it plays a tune.
Are you going to, this is going to be donated, you're donating this
Oh, yes, I donated it to the wonderful society,
to the Leominster Historical Society.
Right.
Joe, to conclude this interview, I want to, and we're going to show the silhouette and have the song in a minute, but this is a painting, I guess, by your brother Charlie,
Yes.
and this really sums up the importance of family and your philosophy. This was written by your brother, Charles. There stands a house on a tiny street that is more than a house and more than a home, a place that's filled with memories deep, a place that's dear to us alone. A parent's care is always there, in that home we love so well, with a helping hand that understands the problems that within us dwell. There stands a house that is God blessed, for in every room and corner is He. And through happy years and sometimes tears, God shows the way for you and me. And so today we are at home in another place that we call our own. Always and always that memory dear will live within us year by year. And that's by your brother Charlie.
Yes.
And Joe, and you have, we'll show this. We want to make sure we're going to show. I'm going to have to choose just one. One or two. You are an artist. I want to show this. And I'll pick another. Joe is a painter. Here is one of his paintings, a talented painter. So there's some of your...
My brother was
your brother.
My brother was an artist, but all I am doing is just having fun.
You're having fun?
And of course, there's quite a few women in the class, which doesn't do any harm.
And here's another one. So, Joe, you're a good painter.
There's your Hobie cats right here.
Oh, you got that in, yeah. And we're going to, in a moment, we're going to play a song that you requested.
Yes.
By Ron Balboni, a good singer.
He's a pretty good singer.
Yes, he is, and he made a DVD here at the studios. And there's a silhouette that we're going to put up. It is of a younger Joe Goodhue. And there it is. And this is how we'll conclude Recipe for Success. And Joe, I have to say it, you're a great guy, and you are a very, very good Joe.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.